Welcome to Monk's Temple. Let's begin by doing something completely foreign to the modern mind. Let's stop. Not just pause the video or take a break from scrolling. Let's genuinely stop the internal machinery for just a moment. Feel the weight of your body against whatever is supporting you. Notice the space around you. Notice that you are breathing without any effort, that life is happening through you, that you didn't have to do anything to keep your heart beating or your lungs expanding. This simple act of noticing, of pausing, is the most radical thing a human being can do. Because here is the uncomfortable truth, most of us never truly live in our lives. We are always somewhere else. When we are at work, we are thinking about home. When we are home, we are worrying about work. When we are with people, we are distracted by our phones. When we are alone, we are desperately seeking connection. We are a species that has mastered the external world completely. We have built machines that fly, medicines that cure, technology that connects us across oceans. And yet the internal world remains a complete mystery. The average person can tell you more about maintaining their car than about maintaining their mind. We know how to change a tire, but we have no idea how to change a thought pattern that has been causing misery for decades. This is where the Buddha enters the conversation. Not as a religious figure demanding worship, but as a psychologist offering a diagnosis. Not as a deity, but as a physician of the human condition. He was an Indian prince who walked away from his palace 25 centuries ago, not because he hated luxury, but because he sensed that luxury was not enough. He had everything a person could want: wealth, status, pleasure, comfort. And still, something was missing. That nagging sense of incompleteness, that subtle background hum of dissatisfaction, followed him even into his palaces. He earned the title, Buddha, which simply means the awakened one. He is not someone to be worshipped from a distance. He is someone to be learned from, studied, understood. He is the original scientist of the subjective mind, the first cartographer to map the territory of human consciousness with such precision that his maps remain valid today, in our world of constant notifications and chronic anxiety. Why does his voice still speak to us so directly after 2,500 years? Because he didn't waste time on metaphysical speculation. He didn't ask people to believe in anything. He focused exclusively on one thing: suffering. Not suffering as a philosophical concept, but suffering as a lived, daily reality. The disappointment of a meal that didn't satisfy. The anxiety before an important meeting. The ache of a relationship that turned cold. The restlessness that follows us into bed at night. The dread that greets us in the morning. He called this experience dukkha, a word that means so much more than pain. It means unsustainability. It means friction. It means the inherent inadequacy of anything conditioned to provide lasting satisfaction. Imagine your mind as a radio. Somewhere beneath all the static, beneath all the competing frequencies, there is a signal of perfect clarity, a frequency of pure peace, of wakefulness itself. The Buddha called this frequency nibbana. It is not something you create through effort. It is something you uncover by removing interference. It is your natural state, hidden beneath layers of mental noise. But what do we actually experience? Static. Constant, relentless static. The station of regret, replaying past mistakes on an endless loop. The station of anxiety, broadcasting worst-case scenarios about the future. The station of craving, advertising the next purchase, the next achievement, the next relationship that will surely make us happy. We spend our entire lives tweaking the dial, thinking that if we can just find the right job, the right partner, the right possession, the static will finally clear. But it never does. It only shifts frequencies. Because the problem is not the world outside. The problem is the receiver itself. The problem is the way we grasp at the dial. The Buddha observed that the mind has a fundamental habit. It grasps. It clings. It reaches for pleasant experiences and tries desperately to hold on to them. It pushes away unpleasant experiences and tries frantically to avoid them. This constant reaching and pushing, this endless grasping, creates exactly the friction we experience as suffering. It is like clutching a rope with all your strength. The tighter you grip, the more the rope burns your hand. The solution is not to find a better rope. The solution is to learn to open your hand. If this investigation resonates with you, if you sense that there might be another way to live, a way not driven by constant grasping, then I invite you to join this community. Please take a moment to subscribe to Monk's Temple. It is a small act, but it sets an intention. An intention is the seed from which all transformation grows. Hit the subscribe button below. Let this be the moment you commit to understanding your own mind. Because here is the truth that the Buddha discovered under the Bodhi tree, the truth that can completely reorient your existence: you are not your thoughts. You are the awareness in which thoughts appear. You are not your emotions. You are the space in which emotions arise and dissolve. You are not your body. You are the consciousness that animates this body and witnesses its constant change. The grasping, the craving, the suffering, these are all things that happen in awareness. They are not who you are. Most people live their entire lives identified with the contents of consciousness, never realizing that they are consciousness itself. It is like a wave terrified of crashing, never realizing it was always water, that the ocean was never threatened by its rising or falling. You are not a wave. You are the ocean. And the peace you seek is not something you need to find. It is something you need to remember. The Buddha's diagnosis begins with a radical shift in perspective that most people never make in an entire lifetime. The problem is not out there. This single insight changes everything. When something feels wrong, our automatic response is to scan the environment for the cause. My job is stressful. My partner is difficult. The world is too chaotic. If only these external circumstances would change, then peace would finally arrive. We live our entire lives in this orientation, constantly trying to rearrange the world outside us, and constantly failing to find lasting satisfaction. The Buddha looked at this universal human habit and offered a gentle but firm correction. The arrow that wounds you comes from your own bow. The fire that burns you is lit by your own hand. This is not blame. This is the most liberating news you will ever receive. Because if the cause of your suffering is external, you are permanently at the mercy of forces you cannot control. You will spend your life chasing an impossible dream of perfect circumstances. But if the cause is internal, then freedom is available now, regardless of what is happening around you. This brings us to the second noble truth, the origin of suffering. The Buddha identified one primary cause. He called it tanha, which literally means thirst. It is the quality of mind that is always reaching, always wanting, always thirsty for something it does not currently have. And like physical thirst, it is never permanently quenched. You drink, and the thirst returns. You get what you want, and the wanting shifts to something else. This craving takes three distinct forms, and understanding them is like being shown the blueprint of your own prison. The first form is the most obvious. Craving for sense pleasures. This is the desire for pleasant sights, sounds, tastes, touches, and thoughts. It is the reason you check your phone constantly. It is the force behind every advertisement you have ever seen. There is nothing wrong with pleasure itself. The problem is what happens in the mind when pleasure becomes the solution to a deeper discontent. Consider the last time you really wanted something. A new phone, a vacation, a particular meal. Notice the quality of that wanting. There is tension in it, a kind of mental reaching. Now remember the moment you got it. There was a flash of satisfaction, maybe even joy. But then, honestly, how long did it last? Within hours or days, the mind was already looking for the next thing. This is the nature of sense craving. It is like drinking salt water to quench thirst. The initial sip feels good, but the underlying thirst is not only unquenched, it is intensified. You become dependent on constantly sipping just to maintain a tolerable level of dissatisfaction. The second form of craving is more subtle and far more powerful. Craving for existence, for becoming, for identity. This is the drive to be someone, to have a solid, permanent self that can be recognized and validated. We don't just want pleasant experiences. We want a self that has those experiences. We build identities out of our careers, our relationships, our opinions, even our sufferings. I am successful. I am a victim. I am spiritual. I am unworthy. Each of these identities feels solid, real, permanent. But look closely. Are you the same person you were 10 years ago? Will you be the same person 10 years from now? The identity is not a thing. It is a process, constantly shifting, constantly being rebuilt. This craving for becoming is the engine of anxiety. Once you build an identity, you must defend it. If you are a successful person, failure becomes terrifying. If you are a kind person, any unkind thought must be suppressed. We spend enormous energy propping up these identities, and we suffer enormously when they are challenged. The third form of craving is the opposite. Craving for non-existence, for annihilation, for escape. This is the desire to make things go away, to numb out, to disappear. It is the impulse to reach for the remote, the bottle, the sleeping pill, not for pleasure but for oblivion. It is the wish for difficult emotions to just stop. It is the fantasy of running away from it all. This craving is particularly dangerous because it is so socially acceptable. We call it relaxation, distraction, taking the edge off. But the Buddha saw it clearly. It is still craving, still reaching, still a form of thirst. These three forms of craving are the channels through which suffering flows into our lives. They are not sins. They are not moral failings. They are simply deeply ingrained habits of mind. We don't notice the constant reaching because we have never experienced a moment without it. It is like a fish that does not notice the water. Now here is the liberating news. If craving is a habit, habits can be changed. If suffering is caused by something we do, then freedom is something we can do as well. The third noble truth is simply this. The cessation of craving is possible. The fire can go out. The grasping hand can open. The static can clear. This is not wishful thinking. It is a direct observation based on the Buddha's own experience and the experience of countless others who have followed the path. The Buddha called this state nibbana. It is not a place you go after death. It is not a reward for good behavior. It is a quality of mind available here and now. It is the peace that remains when the fires of craving have been extinguished. It is the freedom of a mind no longer compulsively reaching for pleasure, no longer desperately defending an identity, no longer trying to escape the present moment. Imagine a lake on a windy day. The surface is churned into waves, and you cannot see the bottom. This is the mind driven by craving, constantly agitated. Now imagine the same lake on a calm day, the surface like glass, the depths clearly visible. This is the mind free from craving. The water is the same water. Only the agitation has ceased. Nibbana is not something added to the mind. It is what remains when the agitation stops. The path to this cessation is the fourth noble truth, the Eightfold Path. But before walking that path, we must truly understand the diagnosis. The problem is craving. The solution is the end of craving. And the end of craving is not achieved by getting what you want. It is achieved by understanding the nature of wanting itself. When you see this truth deeply, not as a concept but as direct experience, the reaching begins to lose its power. The hand begins to open on its own. This is not about suppressing desire. Suppression is just another form of craving, the desire to make desire go away. The path is not about fighting your mind. The path is about understanding your mind so completely that the fights become unnecessary. It is like realizing the rope you thought was a snake is just a rope. The fear does not need to be suppressed. It simply evaporates in the light of understanding. Look at your own life. Notice the moments of discontent. Trace them back to their source. See if there is not always a quality of wanting behind them. Wanting things to be different. Wanting pleasant experiences to continue. Wanting unpleasant experiences to stop. This wanting is not you. It is just a habit. And habits can be seen. And what can be seen can be released. The third noble truth is the most hopeful message ever spoken. Suffering can end. Not just managed, not just coped with. Actually end. The Buddha did not teach that life is suffering and you must accept it. He taught that suffering has a cause, and because it has a cause, it can be undone. This is not philosophy. This is science. Every effect has a cause. Remove the cause, and the effect ceases. Think about a fire. A fire burns because it has fuel. Remove the fuel, and the fire goes out. It is that simple. The fire does not disappear because you pray to it. It goes out because the conditions that sustained it are no longer present. The same is true of suffering. Suffering burns because it has fuel. The fuel is craving. Remove the fuel, and the fire of suffering goes out. The Buddha called this extinguishing nibbana. The word means to blow out, as one blows out a flame. It is not annihilation. It is liberation. When a flame goes out, where does it go? This question puzzled the Buddha's disciples. The Buddha remained silent because the question itself is based on a misunderstanding. The flame does not go anywhere. The conditions that sustained it simply ended. What remains is what was always there, hidden by the flame. Imagine a room filled with smoke. For years you have lived in this room, and you have forgotten that clear air is even possible. You assume the smoke is simply how air is. Then someone opens a window. The smoke clears. As it clears, you do not gain something new. You simply lose the smoke, and what was always there becomes apparent. Nibbana is like that. It is not something you gain. It is something you uncover. It is your natural state, hidden beneath layers of craving. This is why the Buddha described his teaching as something that brings you back to yourself. He did not offer a new identity. He offered a way to stop becoming and simply be. The path is not about adding. It is about subtracting. It is not about accumulating spiritual experiences. It is about removing the obstacles to what is already present. Consider a sculptor working with a block of marble. She does not add material to create a statue. She removes everything that is not the statue. The statue was always there, hidden within the stone. Her work is simply to chip away what obscures it. The Buddha's path works the same way. Your true nature, your capacity for peace, is already fully present. It is not something you need to build. It is something you need to uncover. The Buddha did not ask anyone to believe in Nibbana as a concept. He asked people to look for themselves. He said, "Here is the path. Walk it. See what happens." The end of suffering is not something to believe in. It is something to experience. Here is a modern example. Imagine a man who has lived his entire life with a constant low-grade headache. He has had it for so long that he does not even notice it anymore. He assumes this is simply what being alive feels like. Then one day he visits a doctor who prescribes a simple treatment. The headache lifts. For the first time, he experiences what it feels like to have a clear head. He did not gain anything new. He simply lost the headache. And in losing it, he discovered what was always possible. This is what the end of suffering feels like. It is not that life becomes perfect. Loss still occurs. Pain still arises. But the suffering, the added layer of mental anguish, the struggle against what is, that can end. The Buddha made a crucial distinction between pain and suffering. Pain is inevitable. Physical sensations, unpleasant emotions, these will always arise. But suffering is optional. Suffering is what the mind adds to pain. When craving ends, pain can still be present, but suffering ceases. Think of it this way. Pain is like writing on the surface of water. It appears and it passes. It does not leave a mark. Suffering is like carving the same words into stone. The mind takes the fleeting experience of pain and etches it into permanence through craving and the stories we tell. The end of suffering means letting pain be what it is, a temporary experience, without adding the layer of struggle. The Buddha described this state as having reached the far shore. Most of us are on this side of the river, struggling in the current. The far shore is the same river, seen from the other side. The water is the same. But your relationship to it has changed. You are no longer being carried away. How do you know if this is possible? You do not know until you try. But the Buddha pointed to himself and his disciples. They were not special. They were human beings just like you, with the same fears and struggles. The only difference is that they made the effort. They practiced diligently. And they discovered what was always there. Here is a simple way to begin experiencing this for yourself. The next time you feel a difficult emotion, anger, sadness, fear, just pause. Do not try to make it go away. Do not analyze it. Do not tell a story about it. Just feel it as a physical sensation in your body. Where is it located? Is it hot or cold? Tight or loose? Stay with the raw sensation without adding any mental commentary. What you will notice is that the pure sensation is bearable. It is just energy moving through the body. What makes it unbearable is the mental layer, the stories about why you should not feel this way. When you strip away the mental layer, what remains is just energy. And energy by its nature arises and passes away. It cannot stay. The pain you felt 5 minutes ago is already gone. Only the memory remains. And the memory is not the pain itself. This is the beginning of seeing through suffering. The third noble truth is not a promise for the distant future. It is an invitation for this very moment. The conditions for suffering can be seen. And what can be seen can be released. The flame can go out. The smoke can clear. Not because you escape from life, but because you finally stop fighting it. The fourth noble truth is the path itself. The Buddha did not just diagnose the problem and point to the cure. He gave detailed instructions. He laid out a step-by-step training program for the mind. He called it the Noble Eightfold Path. It is not a list of beliefs to adopt. It is a set of practices to implement. It is not a philosophy to discuss. It is a way of life to live. The path has 8 factors, but they are not stages to complete in order. They are 8 dimensions of practice that develop together, each supporting the others. Think of them as 8 strands of a single rope, woven together to create something strong enough to pull you across the river of suffering. The Buddha divided these 8 factors into 3 trainings. Training in ethical conduct, training in mental discipline, and training in wisdom. The first training is ethical conduct, or sila. This is the foundation. Without it, nothing else is possible. Ethical conduct is not about following rules to please a god. It is about living in a way that creates peace rather than agitation. When your actions are harmful, your mind becomes restless. Guilt, fear of being caught, the complicated web of lies you must maintain, all of this creates inner turmoil. You cannot meditate peacefully when you are worried about the email you just sent or the promise you just broke. Ethical conduct clears the ground. It creates the inner safety necessary for deeper work. The Buddha offered 5 training precepts as practical guidelines. They are not commandments. They are recommendations based on cause and effect. The first is to refrain from taking life. This means cultivating reverence for all living beings. It means recognizing that every creature, from the ant on the sidewalk to your most difficult colleague, wants to be happy and avoid suffering, just like you. When you internalize this, violence becomes unthinkable, not because you are following a rule, but because you see the connection between all life. The second is to refrain from taking what is not given. This goes beyond not stealing. It means respecting boundaries. It means not taking credit for someone else's work. It means not taking advantage of someone's vulnerability. It means not taking more than your fair share. It is the practice of contentment with what you have while you work for what you need. The third is to refrain from sexual misconduct. This is about using the powerful energy of sexuality in a way that does not cause harm. It means being responsible, honest, and respectful in intimate relationships. It means honoring the trust that others place in you. When this precept is violated, the resulting guilt and broken trust create enormous mental agitation. The fourth is to refrain from false speech. This is the commitment to truthfulness. It means not lying, but it also means not gossiping, not speaking harshly, and not engaging in idle chatter that agitates the mind. Speech is a powerful tool. It can heal or it can wound. The path asks you to use it consciously, to speak only what is true, helpful, and timely. The fifth is to refrain from intoxicants that cloud the mind. This is the most pragmatic of the precepts. The entire path is about developing awareness. Intoxicants do the opposite. They deliberately dull and cloud the mind. This precept is a reminder to protect your most valuable tool, your capacity for clear seeing. These 5 precepts are not about being good. They are about creating the conditions for freedom. When you live with integrity, the mind settles naturally. The remorse and fear that come from harmful actions dissolve. You can sit quietly without the mind racing to cover its tracks. Now let me offer a modern example. Imagine a woman who has been dishonest at work. She took credit for a colleague's idea. At first, it felt like a victory. She got the promotion. But now she cannot relax. Every time her colleague speaks in a meeting, she tenses up. Every time the boss praises her, she wonders if someone will expose the truth. She lies awake at night rehearsing defenses. She cannot meditate because her mind is too busy protecting itself. This is the opposite of the peace the path offers. Now imagine she confesses. She goes to her colleague and to her boss and sets the record straight. There may be consequences. She might lose the promotion. But something remarkable happens. The weight lifts. She can sleep again. She can sit quietly without her mind racing. This is the power of Sila. Ethical conduct is not about avoiding punishment. It is about avoiding the inner turmoil that harmful actions create. The second training is mental discipline, or samadhi. This is the practice of training the mind to be calm, focused, and stable. The primary tool for this training is meditation. Meditation is not about becoming blank or having special experiences. It is about learning to pay attention. It is about developing the ability to place your mind where you want it and keep it there. The Buddha recommended starting with the breath. The breath is always with you. It is a perfect anchor because it is a physical process that reflects the state of the mind. When the mind is agitated, the breath is shallow and fast. When the mind is calm, the breath is deep and slow. By watching the breath, you learn to read the mind's condition. The practice is simple but not easy. You sit comfortably. You bring your attention to the sensation of breathing. Maybe you feel the air at the tip of your nose. Maybe you feel the rising and falling of your abdomen. You just rest your attention there. And then it happens. The mind wanders. You start planning dinner. You replay an argument. You worry about tomorrow. This is not failure. This is the practice. The moment you notice you have wandered, that moment of noticing, is a moment of mindfulness. Gently, without judgment, you bring your attention back to the breath. You wander, you notice, you return. You wander, you notice, you return. Over and over. This is like building a muscle. Each time you return, you strengthen your capacity for attention. Over time, the periods of focus lengthen. The mind becomes calmer, more collected. You begin to see thoughts not as reality but as events arising and passing away in awareness. You see a thought of anger arise. Instead of being consumed by it, you watch it like a cloud passing through the sky. You feel the physical sensation of tightness in the chest, and you stay with it, without reacting, until it dissolves. This is the training of samadhi. The third training is wisdom, or panna. This is the culmination of the path. Wisdom is not something you learn from books. It arises naturally from a mind that is ethical and concentrated. Wisdom is seeing reality directly, without the filters of craving and aversion. It is understanding the three characteristics of existence that the Buddha pointed to: impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and non-self. With a calm and focused mind, you begin to see that everything changes. Your breath comes and goes. Your thoughts come and go. Your emotions come and go. Even your sense of being a solid self comes and goes. There is nothing fixed to hold on to. And in that seeing, the grasping hand finally opens on its own. The third training of the path is wisdom, or panna. This is not intellectual knowledge. It is not something you can learn from a book or adopt as a belief. Wisdom is direct seeing. It is the mind perceiving reality without the distortion of craving, aversion, or ignorance. It is like putting on glasses for the first time and realizing that the blurry world you thought was normal was actually your own misunderstanding. Wisdom develops naturally when the mind is ethical and concentrated. When you live with integrity, the mind is peaceful. When you practice meditation, the mind becomes sharp and focused. With this peaceful, focused mind, you can begin to look deeply at the nature of your own experience. And what you see transforms everything. The Buddha pointed to three characteristics that wisdom reveals. The first is impermanence, or anicca. Everything changes. This sounds simple, even obvious. But we do not live as if it were true. We live as if our bodies will never age, as if our relationships will never end, as if our possessions will always be ours. We build our lives on the assumption of permanence, and then we suffer when change inevitably arrives. With a concentrated mind, you begin to see impermanence directly, moment by moment. You watch your breath. Each inhalation arises and passes away. Each exhalation arises and passes away. You watch your thoughts. They appear from nowhere, linger briefly, and disappear. You watch your emotions. They rise, peak, and fall. Nothing stays. Nothing remains. Even the sense of being a solid self, the feeling of I that seems so permanent, reveals itself as a series of fleeting moments, each one distinct, each one gone before the next arises. This is not depressing. It is liberating. If everything changes, then clinging to anything is futile. It is like trying to hold water in your hand. The tighter you squeeze, the faster it runs through your fingers. The suffering is not in the changing. The suffering is in the grasping. When you see impermanence directly, the grasping begins to loosen on its own. The second characteristic is unsatisfactoriness, or dukkha. This is not pessimism. It is a direct observation. Because everything changes, nothing can provide lasting satisfaction. The most beautiful moment fades. The deepest love ends in separation. The greatest achievement becomes ordinary. This is not a flaw in the world. It is simply the nature of conditioned things. They arise, they exist for a time, and they cease. When you see this directly, you stop expecting the world to give you what it cannot give. You stop demanding that pleasant experiences last forever. You stop being surprised when things fall apart. You make peace with the way things actually are, rather than constantly fighting against reality. And in that peace, suffering ends. The third characteristic is the most profound. It is non-self, or anatta. This is the Buddha's most radical insight. He asked us to look for the self, the me, the mine, that we hold so dear. Where is it? Is it in the body? The body is constantly changing. Cells die and are replaced. The body you had as a child is gone. Is the self in your feelings? Feelings arise and pass, moment after moment, pleasure, pain, neutrality. Is the self in your perceptions? They are conditioned by past experiences and are completely unreliable. Is the self in your thoughts? Thoughts just appear, seemingly out of nowhere, and then disappear. Can you really claim ownership of something you did not consciously create? When you look closely, with the laser focus developed in meditation, you find that the self is not a thing. It is a process. It is a collection of constantly changing physical and mental phenomena. The Buddha called these the five aggregates: form, feeling, perception, mental formations, and consciousness. These five streams of experience flow together, and we label the whole flowing process, me. But there is no permanent owner behind the experience. There is just experiencing. Let me offer a modern analogy. Think of a movie. The movie is not one thing. It is thousands of individual frames projected in rapid succession. The illusion of continuous motion comes from our inability to see the gaps between frames. The self is like that. It is a series of mental moments arising and passing so quickly that we perceive a solid, continuous entity. But when the mind becomes calm and focused enough, you begin to see the frames. You begin to see the gaps. And in that seeing, the illusion of a solid self dissolves. This is not nihilism. It is not saying you do not exist. You exist, but not as a fixed, permanent entity. You exist as a process, a flow, a river of experience. And this is far more wonderful than being a solid self. A solid self is trapped. A solid self must defend itself. A solid self fears death. But a process, a flow, a river, this is free. This is open. This is what the Buddha discovered under the Bodhi tree. Let me tell you a story. There was a woman who came to a meditation teacher in great distress. She said, "I have been practicing for years, and I still get angry. I still feel fear. I still crave things I cannot have. I thought enlightenment would make these things disappear. What am I doing wrong?" The teacher smiled and said, "You are doing nothing wrong. The clouds still come. But now you know you are the sky. This is the wisdom of non-self. The anger comes, but you do not have to claim it as yours. The fear arises, but you do not have to become it. You are the space in which these things appear, not the things themselves. When this insight becomes real, not just intellectual, the entire structure of suffering collapses. Who is it that suffers? Who is it that craves? You look for the one who is suffering, and you cannot find anyone there. There is just suffering, just craving, just the process. But there is also awareness of the process. And that awareness is free. It was never trapped. It only thought it was. The three trainings of the path, ethical conduct, mental discipline, and wisdom, work together to bring this freedom into your life. Sila creates the peaceful conditions. Samadhi sharpens the mind. Panna sees through the illusion. And what is seen through can no longer bind you. This is not a theory. This is an invitation. The path is here. The method is clear. And the freedom it leads to is not somewhere in the distant future. It is available now, in this very moment, whenever you are willing to look deeply and see clearly. Now let us turn to the life of the man who walked this path to its end. Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha, was not always enlightened. He was once exactly where you are now, trapped in the same patterns, haunted by the same questions, searching for the same peace. His life is not a distant legend. It is a case study. It is a demonstration that liberation is possible for a human being. He was born into privilege. His father was a leader of the Sakyan people, and he built his son 3 palaces, one for each season. Siddhartha wanted for nothing. He had the finest food, the most beautiful entertainment, the most luxurious surroundings. He married his cousin Yasodhara, a woman of exceptional beauty and grace. They had a son, Rahula. By all external measures, he had achieved the ideal human life. But something was stirring beneath the surface. The palace walls could not keep out the truth. One day, traveling outside the palace grounds, he saw what his father had tried to hide from him. He saw an old man, bent and broken by years. He saw a sick man, wasted by disease. He saw a corpse, being carried to cremation. And he saw a wandering ascetic, a man who had left the world to seek something beyond it. These 4 sights shattered his complacency. He realized that his youth would not last. His health would fail. His body would die. And all the pleasures of the palace could do nothing to change these facts. This is the first lesson from his life. We live as if we are exceptions to the laws of nature. We know intellectually that we will age, get sick, and die. But we do not live from that knowledge. We live as if we have unlimited time, as if the party will never end. The Buddha's awakening to these truths is a mirror held up to our own sleepwalking. He saw clearly what we spend our lives trying not to see. And instead of running from it, he turned to face it directly. That night, he made his decision. He looked at his sleeping wife and son. He loved them deeply. But he knew that love, as beautiful as it was, could not protect them from the truths he had seen. He left the palace. He cut off his hair. He put on simple robes. He became a wanderer. This is called the Great Renunciation. It is not a story about abandoning family. It is a symbol of something we must all do internally. It is the decision to value truth over comfort, to prioritize awakening over the endless pursuit of sensory pleasure. For 6 years, he practiced the path of asceticism. He fasted until his body was skin and bones. He exposed himself to extremes of heat and cold. He pushed his body to the edge of death. He was following the common belief of his time, that liberation came from punishing the body, from denying all pleasure, from extreme self-mortification. He became the best ascetic of his generation. Other seekers gathered around him, certain that he would soon achieve enlightenment. But enlightenment did not come. He was dying, and he was no closer to freedom than when he started. This is the second great lesson from his life. The path is not about torment. It is not about punishing yourself. It is not about extreme denial. Many spiritual seekers today carry this same misunderstanding. They beat themselves up with guilt. They engage in harsh inner criticism, thinking that if they are hard enough on themselves, they will become good. They deny themselves basic kindness. The Buddha's 6 years of struggle show us that this approach does not work. He remembered a moment from his childhood. He was sitting under a rose-apple tree while his father worked. Spontaneously, without any effort, he entered a state of deep meditative absorption. It was peaceful, focused, and free from both desire and self-torment. He realized then that the path was a middle way. It avoids the extremes of sensual indulgence, which he had experienced in the palace, and self-mortification, which he had experienced in the forest. The middle way is the path of balanced, mindful attention. He regained his strength by taking food. His 5 companions, seeing him eat, thought he had given up and abandoned him. Now he was alone. He sat down under a fig tree, later called the Bodhi tree, and made a resolution. He would not rise until he had found the truth. As night fell, he entered deeper and deeper states of meditation. His mind became perfectly calm, perfectly concentrated. In the first watch of the night, he turned his attention to his past lives. He saw them unfolding, lifetime after lifetime, like a vast panorama. In the second watch, he developed what is called the divine eye. He could see beings dying and being reborn according to their actions, according to their karma. He saw that the quality of one's life is shaped by the quality of one's choices. In the third watch, he penetrated to the deepest truth. He saw the mechanism of dependent origination, the chain of cause and effect that binds us to suffering. And he saw how to break that chain. When dawn broke, he was no longer a seeker of enlightenment. He was a Buddha, an awakened one. He had touched the deathless in this very life. For 7 weeks, he remained near the tree, enjoying the peace of liberation. Then he faced a choice. Should he teach? The truth he had discovered was so deep, so subtle, so contrary to ordinary thinking, that he doubted anyone could understand. He was inclined to remain silent, to enjoy his freedom alone. But a high being, a deity named Brahma Sahampati, appeared to him. He bowed and pleaded with the Buddha to teach. He said there are those with little dust in their eyes, those who are ready to see, those who will understand if only someone will show them the way. The Buddha looked out at the world with his awakened vision. He saw beings, like lotuses in a pond. Some were deep in the mud. Some were just below the surface. Some were poised to break through into the light and bloom. His heart filled with compassion. He decided to teach. This is the final lesson from his life before his ministry began. Compassion is what moves wisdom to act. He could have remained in the forest, enjoying the bliss of liberation. But he chose to spend the next 45 years walking the dusty roads of India, teaching anyone who would listen, offering the same freedom he had found. Not because he needed anything, but because he saw that others were suffering and that he could help. The Buddha's life is not just a biography. It is a teaching. It shows us that awakening is possible. It shows us the pitfalls to avoid, the indulgence of the palace and the torment of the forest. It shows us the middle way. And it shows us that compassion is the natural expression of a liberated heart. After his enlightenment, the Buddha faced the question that every awakened being must face. How do you communicate the incommunicable? How do you put the experience of freedom into words that trapped people can understand? He compared it to teaching someone about the ocean who has only ever known a well. The words will always fall short. And yet, out of compassion, he tried. His first teaching was given in a deer park at Sarnath, near the city of Benares. 5 ascetics, his former companions, were there. When they saw him coming, they were skeptical. They thought he had given up the struggle. But something about his presence, his bearing, his radiance, drew them in. They found themselves offering him a seat, listening to what he had to say. He taught them the middle way. He taught them the 4 noble truths. And he taught them the Eightfold Path. By the end of that first discourse, one of them, Kandana, understood. The Dharma I had opened in him. He saw for himself what the Buddha was pointing to. He became the first disciple, the first member of the Sangha, the community of awakened ones. This was the beginning. Over the next 45 years, the Buddha walked throughout the Ganges plain, from present-day Delhi to Bengal. He taught in villages and cities, to kings and outcasts, to Brahmins and laborers. He did not discriminate. He did not charge a fee. He simply offered the Dharma to anyone who was willing to listen. One of the most remarkable aspects of his teaching was its openness to everyone. In the India of his time, the religious teachings were reserved for the upper castes. Women were excluded from spiritual pursuits. Outcasts were not even allowed near the sacred texts. The Buddha rejected all of this. He said that a person's worth is determined by their character, not their birth. He opened the doors of liberation to everyone. Women, in particular, found a home in his teaching. At first, he hesitated to create an order of nuns. It was such a radical step in that society. But his foster mother, Mahapajapati Gautami, asked repeatedly. She led a group of women who wanted to ordain. Finally, the Buddha agreed. He established the Bhikkhuni Sangha, the order of nuns. Women from all walks of life, princesses, housewives, servants, even former courtesans, joined and attained the highest goal. This was unprecedented in human history. The Buddha also taught lay people, men and women living with families, working at jobs, raising children. He did not require everyone to become monks. He gave practical advice for living in the world with wisdom and kindness. He taught that generosity, ethical conduct, and mental cultivation were available to everyone, regardless of their lifestyle. Let me offer a story that illustrates his skill in teaching. There was a wealthy man named Anathapindika, whose name means, feeder of the orphaned. He was a merchant, a businessman, and he became one of the Buddha's most generous supporters. He purchased a park for the Sangha, covering it with gold coins because that was the only way the original owner would sell. This park, Jetavana, became one of the Buddha's favorite places to stay. But Anathapindika was not just wealthy. He was wise. He practiced the Dharma diligently while managing his business affairs. One day, he became seriously ill. He was dying. He sent for his friend, a monk named Sariputta, who was known for his deep wisdom. Sariputta came and sat by his bedside. He did not offer empty comfort. He did not say, "You will get better." He gave a teaching on letting go. He reminded Anathapindika to not cling to his wealth, his family, his body. He guided him through a meditation on impermanence, on non-attachment, on the peace of letting go. Anathapindika listened. He practiced. And as he died, he was not afraid. He passed away peacefully, with a mind free from grasping. After his death, he was reborn in a heavenly realm. Some time later, he appeared to the Buddha, radiant and joyful, and expressed his gratitude. This is the power of the Dharma. It does not just help you live well. It helps you die well. And in dying well, it prepares you for whatever comes next. Another story involves a young man named Sanaka. He came from a wealthy family and was deeply attached to his possessions. When he heard the Buddha teach, he was inspired to ordain. But he struggled. He was used to comfort, and the simple life of a monk was difficult. He became discouraged and thought about leaving the order. The Buddha came to him and asked, "Sanaka, when you were at home, were you good at playing the lute?" Sanaka said yes, he was an excellent musician. The Buddha then asked, when the strings of the lute were too tight, did the instrument sound good? Sanaka said no, it was unplayable. And when the strings were too loose, did it sound good? Again, no. Only when the strings were tuned precisely, not too tight and not too loose, did the lute produce beautiful music. Then the Buddha said, in the same way, Sanaka, effort that is too tight leads to agitation. Effort that is too loose leads to laziness. Find the middle way. Tune your effort like the strings of a lute. Sanaka understood. He adjusted his practice. He found balance. And in time, he attained enlightenment. This story is a perfect example of the Buddha's skill and means. He did not give a standard sermon. He used Sanaka's own experience, his own love of music, to teach a profound truth about the path. The Buddha's ministry lasted 45 years. He walked thousands of miles. He taught countless beings. He established a community that continues to this day, the oldest continuous institution in human history. And through it all, he remained a human being. He got tired. He got sick. He experienced loss. He watched his closest disciples, Sariputta and Moggallana, die before him. He did not float above life. He lived it fully, with wisdom and compassion, showing that awakening does not make you a god. It makes you fully human. Now let me offer you some modern stories that illustrate these ancient truths. These are not tales from ancient India. They are glimpses of the Dharma showing up in ordinary life, in the struggles and breakthroughs of people just like you. Consider a woman I will call Maria. She was a successful attorney in a large city. She had worked her entire life to reach the top of her field. She had the corner office, the prestigious cases, the respect of her colleagues. By every external measure, she had achieved the life she wanted. But inside, she was crumbling. She could not sleep. She could not relax. She felt constant pressure to maintain her position, to prove herself again and again. The identity she had built, the successful attorney, required constant defense. Every email could be a threat. Every meeting could expose her. Every younger colleague could be a rival. Maria was experiencing the suffering of becoming, the craving for existence. She had built a self out of her career, and that self was exhausting to maintain. She came to meditation out of desperation. She needed something to take the edge off. But as she practiced, something shifted. She began to see that the successful attorney was not who she was. It was a role she was playing. Behind the role, beneath the identity, there was simply awareness, simply presence. And that presence did not need to defend itself. It did not need to prove anything. It was already enough. Maria still practices law. She is still successful. But the desperate grasping has loosened. She no longer lies awake at night defending her identity. She works, and then she lets it go. This is freedom in the midst of the world. Consider a man I will call James. He was raised in a family where emotions were not discussed. Anger was forbidden. Sadness was weakness. Fear was something to hide. James learned early to suppress his feelings, to push them down, to pretend they did not exist. But emotions do not disappear when you ignore them. They go underground. They fester. They leak out in unexpected ways. James developed chronic anxiety. His heart would race for no reason. He would wake up in the middle of the night in a panic. He tried everything to make it stop. Medication, therapy, exercise, none of it fully worked. Then he encountered mindfulness practice. He learned to sit with his anxiety instead of running from it. He learned to feel the physical sensations, the racing heart, the tight chest, without adding the story, without telling himself that something was wrong, that he was broken. At first, it was terrifying. He had spent his whole life avoiding these feelings. But as he stayed with them, something remarkable happened. They passed. The anxiety arose, it peaked, and it dissolved. It did not stay. It could not stay. James discovered that he could survive his own emotions. He did not need to suppress them. He did not need to be controlled by them. He could simply be present with them and let them move through. This is the freedom that comes from facing what we fear. Consider a young woman I will call Priya. She was deeply attached to her phone, to social media, to the constant validation of likes and comments. She would check her phone hundreds of times a day. Every notification gave a little hit of dopamine, a tiny pleasure. But the pleasure never lasted. Within seconds of posting something, she was checking to see who had responded. Within minutes of receiving likes, she was wanting more. She was caught in the cycle of sense craving, constantly reaching for the next hit, never satisfied. She decided to do a silent retreat, 10 days without her phone, without any devices. The first 3 days were agony. She felt phantom vibrations in her pocket. She reached for her phone dozens of times before remembering it was gone. She felt anxious, cut off, alone. But by the 5th day, something shifted. The craving began to quiet. She noticed the world around her, the colors of the sky, the sounds of birds, the feel of the breeze. She realized she had been missing her actual life while staring at a screen. When she returned to the world, she did not abandon her phone. But her relationship to it had changed. She was no longer a slave to the notifications. She could pick it up when she needed it and put it down when she did not. The craving had loosened its grip. Consider a man I will call David. He was a recovering alcoholic. For years, he had used alcohol to escape, to numb out, to avoid the pain of his life. This is the craving for non-existence, the desire to make experience go away. In his recovery program, he encountered the 12 steps, which have deep parallels with the Buddha's path. He learned to make amends for his past actions, which is the practice of ethical conduct. He learned to pray and meditate, which is the practice of mental discipline. And he learned to take a moral inventory, to look honestly at his own mind, which is the beginning of wisdom. David has been sober for 15 years. He still attends meetings. He still practices. He says that his addiction taught him something valuable. It taught him that he cannot escape himself. Wherever you go, there you are. The only way out is through. And the only way through is with awareness. Consider a couple I will call Tom and Sarah. They had been married for 20 years and were stuck in patterns of conflict. Every argument followed the same script. Tom would withdraw. Sarah would pursue. Tom would withdraw more. Sarah would get angry. Round and round they went, each convinced the other was the problem. They came to a therapist who taught them mindfulness. Instead of reacting automatically, they learned to pause. When Tom felt the urge to withdraw, he would notice it, feel it in his body, and breathe. When Sarah felt the urge to pursue, she would do the same. They learned to see their own patterns, to take responsibility for their own part of the dynamic. The conflicts did not disappear entirely. But they no longer escalated into days of silence and resentment. The couple learned that freedom is possible even in relationship, even in the messiness of two imperfect people trying to love each other. These stories are not extraordinary. They are ordinary. They are happening everywhere, in every city, in every life. The Dharma is not a distant philosophy. It is a living truth, available to anyone who is willing to pay attention. The same peace that Maria found, the same freedom James discovered, the same release Priya experienced, is available to you. Not by escaping your life, but by living it more fully, more consciously, more kindly. The path is here. The choice is yours. The Buddha's last moments were his final teaching. At 80 years old, his body failing, he lay down between two sal trees in a small town called Kusinara. Disciples gathered around him, weeping. They were losing their teacher. But the Buddha did not weep. He lay there, fully aware, fully at peace. He had done what needed to be done. There was nothing left to hold on to. A wandering ascetic named Subhata came to see him. The disciples tried to turn him away, but the Buddha said, "Let him come." Subhata asked his questions, received his answers, and became the Buddha's last direct disciple, attaining enlightenment in those final hours. Then the Buddha spoke his last words to the gathered monks. He did not appoint a successor. He did not promise to return. He simply said, "All conditioned things are subject to decay. Attain the goal with diligence." That was everything. Everything that arises will pass. Your body, your relationships, your achievements, all conditioned things fade. This is not tragedy. This is nature. The tragedy is living as if it were not true, grasping at what cannot be held. Attain the goal with diligence. The goal is the unconditioned, the deathless, nibbana. And the way is diligence, consistent practice, not someday, but now. Then he entered the stages of meditation, ascending through each level, and from the deepest, passed away, never to be reborn. His last act was awareness. 25 centuries later, his voice still speaks. The deathless is here, hidden beneath the grasping. It is your natural state. It is what remains when you stop fighting. The invitation has been given. The rest is up to you. Attain the goal with diligence. Thank you for walking this path at Monk's Temple. May you be happy, peaceful, and free.